Have you ever taken a bird photo that was technically pretty good? Sharp subject, decent exposure, and nice background. But when you actually start editing it, something just feels missing. You increase the saturation, add some contrast, and suddenly the photo looks more edited, but not necessarily better. I've had this happen so many times, and I realized that most of the time the problem isn't that the photo needs more color or sharpness, it needs depth. So, in this video, I'm going to take one flat looking bird photo and show you exactly how I edit it in Lightroom to make the bird stand out naturally. So, this is the raw file we're starting with, and honestly, there's nothing terribly wrong with it. The bird is in focus and the exposure is pretty good, but look at the image as a whole. Everything has almost the same visual importance. The bird doesn't really separate from the background, the light doesn't have much direction, and the colors are a little bit dull. So instead of immediately reaching for saturation or clarity, I'm going to build this edit in a slightly different way. The first thing I want to work on is the overall light. Before I start doing any detailed adjustments, I want the photo to have a good foundation. I'm just looking for a little more separation between the brighter and darker parts of the image. Now I'm going to denoise the image. I denoise almost every image shot above 400 ISO because even if you can't see the noise, when you zoom in, it becomes more significant. Now we can move to masking. I'm going to create a subject mask. Lightroom does a pretty good job of selecting the bird automatically, but I'll always check the mask before doing anything else. I'm going to lift the bird just a bit, not enough that it looks like it's glowing, just enough to separate it from the background. Now here's something I think is even more important. Instead of constantly making the bird more dramatic, sometimes the better option is to make the background a little less distracting. I'm going to use the generative AI remove tool to get rid of this distracting dark patch of grass in the background. Just look at the difference. I'm going to make a background mask to adjust the background separately. Lightroom has also selected the rock on which the bird is sitting on, so I'm gonna go to Subtract, Select Object, and roughly draw around the rock. That's better. Now I will drop the background just a little bit. Now the image is actually starting to look good. Now let's talk about color. This is probably where most people go wrong. When a bird photo looks dull, the first instinct is usually to increase saturation. But look at what happens when I do that. The entire image gets more colorful. You don't want that. So instead, I'm going to target the specific colors that actually matter. Now we're getting to the detail, and this is where I want to avoid one of the biggest mistakes in photo editing. Don't just throw texture and clarity onto the entire image, because when you do that, suddenly every leaf, every branch, and every little bit of noise becomes more noticeable. Instead, I'll apply most of the detail to the subject. Now, for a finishing touch, I'm going to apply a vignette. I'm going to do that using a radial gradient because the Lightroom vignette doesn't allow you to place it wherever you want. However, when you use the radial gradient, you can place it anywhere you want. That gives you more control over the vignette. Here is the final image, and it turned out better than I expected. If you found this helpful, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.